Hello, everybody, and welcome to Star Wars Geek. I'm Zoe, and as usual, I'm here with Lizzy.
Hello.
And we are going to be talking about many Star Wars.
A Star Wars. It's been a while since a Star Wars.
Yeah, we took a little break. We got very busy, but we are going to talk about some Star Wars news and the Star Wars of recent months, weeks. It's not been that long, weeks.
Yeah, weeks.
Wars Geek Girls. They're geek girls that like Star Wars. And sometimes cry.
All right, Star Wars time. So before we get into the Star Wars, the first thing to talk about is Skeleton Crew. They released a few first look stills as well as a release date. So we will see Skeleton Crew on our TVs on December 3rd, which is a little later than I was hoping for, but that's okay. It'll be worth it. You know, it seems like it might be a good like Christmas time show too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Christmas
okay.
themed? I don't know.
Well, yeah, I don't think it's gonna be literally Christmas themed, but I feel like the vibes will match Christmas.
Fair.
Pretty good. But so yeah,
Yes.
there's that. But the pictures are very very cute. It's the Goonies in space. That is what this is, and I'm so so here for it.
I like the
Um,
Goonies.
yes, it's Space Goonies.
Oh,
So
it's
good.
babies. It's little babies.
I said so good, and Siri was like me, for me, and she muted me.
Me?
Uh,
I'm good. We are good.
um, but yeah, so we got all the characters' names too, which is very exciting. So we have Wim. He's given like very like curly hair. Then we have Jude Law is playing Jod Na Wood. I think that's how it's said. And then we have KB. She has like blonde hair and she's wearing like a little like thingy over her eyes. And then we have Neil, who is my favorite. He's a little Ortholin, and he's a little
Looks like a
guy.
little elephant.
He's a little blue guy, got big eyes, little side part going on. He's so cute. I love him so much
What a
already.
nerd.
Then we also have Fern, who she's a little bit of an older girl. She has a very cool jacket. Um,
Lots of
it's
patches.
very cool. Yeah, lots of patches. I love a good patch jacket. There's another photo of Jude Law. This photo is my favorite photo. So you have Neil and Wim with their little like speeder bikes, but they're like little kids' bikes. So they have like little baskets and little streamers coming off the handlebars. And it is the cutest thing I've ever seen in my whole life. It is so adorable.
All these pictures are
Um,
pretty cute.
so yes, it's so cute. And then there's another photo of the kids with like a droid who it says is SM33, and the kids have like this is like the most Goonies photo of all, the fourth one in a little slideshow on StarWars.com. And they have like the flashlights and they're dark and like investigating this like decrepit kind of droid. And then I think that's not. Oh, there's another photo of KB and Fern on like little bikes
Yes.
as well. These ones do not have streamers on the handle. So
The guy that you like has a little apron.
and it's so freaking cute. They have like all of like little overalls and cute little outfits. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for the show. I was one of the people that got to see the little trailer back at Celebration London last year, and so I remember they showed us this one. They showed us the Acolyte trailer, and both of those shows I was so over the moon with. Obviously, the Acolyte, I talk about that a lot, but this show. I was remembered being really struck by all the color that we saw. All these really fun aliens were in this show, and it's we get to see some of the normal life side of Star Wars of just these kids living their normal lives, and then of course we get to have a fun adventure. Everything like in this, it feels like very Spielberg. I don't know if we're ever gonna have Spielberg actually make a Star Wars movie, um, but I feel like this is the closest we'll ever get if he doesn't. Like, short of Spielberg actually making Star Wars, this is the closest I think we're gonna get to Spielberg Star Wars. I mean, that is a very high compliment. It just looks like such a fun, like, whimsy adventure, which I think is something that we forget sometimes Star Wars is meant to be. I mean, Star Wars can be anything, right? That's why we all love this so much, because there's so much potential and so much to do within this galaxy. But like at the heart of it, it's an adventure and it's fun and it's for kids, and
Yeah,
that is
it's not what I was expecting.
What?
It's not what I was expecting. I kept hearing skeleton crew, skeleton
I know
crew,
it's named Skeleton Crew,
and I was like,
there's
oh,
like
it's
the
gonna
one
be
poster.
like, you know.
Yeah, well, someone found like
bulky.
a print too at like a thrift store. And there's like actual skulls on the poster, which is interesting. But it's I'm very excited for this show, and I think this is going to be really great for families, for kids, and for all of us who love this universe and are excited to get whisked away into it once again. Um, we like our shows that are a bit more lore involved, a bit heavier, are very, very fun, very interesting, and I love talking about them. But there's something to be said about kind of returning to Lucas's idea of Star Wars being like fun and for families and meant to unlock passion and imagination. And I'm really excited to have a show that caters so much to that. I think it's going to be amazing. I'm very, very excited for this show.
Sure. Also, Phil, please.
What?
Hold on. Sorry. Okay. Hi. Okay. Sorry. Technical difficulties. Okay.
Oh no.
Okay. We're good. Yes. I like Goonies. Again, this is not what I was expecting at all from it. When I heard, like, Skeleton Crew, I thought it was gonna be not, like, adulty. That sounds weird. But, like, I thought it was gonna be, like, almost like a Cassian kind of adult, like, show. And now I'm seeing a bunch of kids, and I'm like, that's interesting. That's kind of cute.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if that's like I guess I would say Rebels. Like, I want to like, what's the last like pretty like family show or move like Star Wars if we've had, besides I guess what's it called
Young Jedi Adventures.
Young Jedi Adventures. But that's very, very kiddie,
Yeah, I mean, I'd argue at a certain point all Star Wars is for families. Like, I don't think there's any Star Wars that's truly inaccessible to kids. I think there's Star Wars that they aren't gonna gravitate to as much. Like, I think a kid, especially if we're getting like 9, 10, 12, I think kids could absolutely like Andor. I don't think most kids would. I think there are kids that do, and but it's not a show for them as much, I would say. But like, there's a certain point where, to me, like, in a way, all Star Wars is for kids. It's about capturing their imagination and our future through them. But I mean, you could say arguably, I don't know, I might put like Mando or Book of Boba Fett in that category, to be totally honest. But even then, like, we're not a bunch of kids. And I think it's gonna be really great, like, for kids to see. I know when I was a kid, like, I loved originals, I loved the prequels, but it wasn't until Clone Wars came out and we had Ahsoka, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's a kid like me. This is so much cooler. I don't care all those other people. And I think there are a lot of kids who kind of feel that way. Adults can sometimes be, there are kids who relate to adult characters, but sometimes adults can feel a little bit untouchable and unrelatable for kids. And I think, it's so great. We talk about representation so much, and it's always important in so many ways, but I think we, don't think about kids as much. Kids love to see themselves on screen, especially having adventures, like, that's why, we have like the Bad Batch, like Omega. Like, Omega's going on these really cool adventures and doing all these cool things, and that's for kids. Kids hate to be told, that they're too little and they can't go do this, they can't have this, they can't go there. And so, it's really fun. It's important for kids to get to see media where they can be the ones having the adventures, and it's not just the grown-ups that are always doing that. And I'm really excited for this show to kind of bring that back. to kids, especially because I think there's a lot of kids who, when we get to like around the kids like age of these kids in the show, we get to like 9, 10, 12, where like Young Giant Adventures, they might like it, but it's not for that age group as much as it's for a younger age group. I think this is perfect for those kids that are right in the middle, not quite teenagers yet, but not like little kids who have something for them with kids that look like them and act like them. And I'm very excited for this for me and also for the new generation of Star Wars fans that we're always growing and developing.
Sí. Qué bonita.
Very excited for Skeleton Crew. Also, someone pointed out with the release schedule, because it's on December 3rd, it's a Tuesday, and this year Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve both fall on Tuesdays. So if they follow the typical schedule, we'll get episodes on those days, which is pretty cool, I think. Especially because it's like, if this is a family show, like that's a time of year where typically more families in the U.S. at least are like together and get to watch it together, which I think. I don't know the logic. I'm not gonna pretend I know the logic. I was in the room when they were picking the release date, but maybe
that makes sense.
Nice sentiment, I don't know.
That would make sense for them to do,
Yeah.
It would suck if they were like, okay, we're gonna release this show that's for kids. Put it like during their finals week.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the last time we got December Star Wars was Book of Boba Fett, right? Because Andor, Mando, Ahsoka were all fall shows. Bad Batch was like early in the year, mostly. So yeah, and Book of Boba Fett came out like the 27th, I think it was. So, be interesting. I do miss December Star Wars. We had a good run of movies there for a while. So it's a good, it's a good time of year. I feel like Christmas, Star Wars, I feel like it oddly goes together in a way.
Like
maybe I've been conditioned, We had what, like 5 years there where we had a Star Wars movie almost every December, except Solo was in May. So yeah. But yeah, there's not really much more about Skeleton Crew. D23 is this coming weekend, so maybe we'll see a trailer come out of there. I would assume if some of this December, they probably want to drop a trailer soon. And we can talk about that and whatever else comes to D23.
Deadlines, people.
I just mean there's no more big events between now and December. Like it's D23. I don't know how much Star Wars is going to announce at D23 because Celebration Tokyo is next April, and I imagine they want to save stuff for that. But I feel like Skeleton Crew, like unless they release a trailer after the show comes out, it's got to be D23, right? But yeah, and we'll see what else comes out of D23. I'm sure we'll podcast about it. But that's Skeleton Crew. Any other thoughts on Skeleton Crew? No. Okay. So our other bits of Star Wars news before we get into the big Star War is the new season of Star Wars Hunters started. For anyone who's playing that, I'm enjoying it.
My dad and Axel.
Yes, your dad and Axel. I'm always like, every time I get on, I like check the social tab, and it's like your dad and Axel were on like 35 minutes ago. I was like, oh. But yes, the new season started. This season, so the last season, at least, maybe I don't know, maybe I'm stupid and didn't notice it. The last season, like the first season of Hunters, didn't seem to have like a theme in the battle pass. It was kind of like cool stuff. And I was like, yeah, we don't need a theme battle pass. We can do whatever. But this battle pass is very, very themed. It's Imperial themed, which is not my favorite, but there's a lot of really cool stuff in there. So there's like a skin for Sentinel that makes him a Death Trooper, and he has like this crack in his helmet that glows green, and it is so cool. I'm still waiting on his like Thrawn Trooper skin. Where's that? But then there's like a lot of cool outfits. Like pretty much every character is getting like an outfit off of Imperial. Like even the Rebel character, like she has a it's Zaina. She has a costume like sort of like, remember Jin's undercover in Rogue One when like in the last on Scarif, like she has like one of those. And then there's like, um, what's her name? Oh gosh, Marvex. She has like an Inquisitor costume, and then I don't know. That's it's so cute though. And like you have like Sprocket, or not Sprocket. Well yeah, Sprocket has like a little Death Star chair. What's his name? Freaking the guy Slingshot. He's like a little like his little droidica looks like a Imperial speeder. And then like Reeve she has like a Darth Vader outfit, and it kind of serves because it's like her hair is like slicked back and then like flares at the bottom to like give like a Darth Vader helmet like silhouette. Like she is really serving. I'm not gonna lie, but it's got lots of really cool outfits, and there's also a new hunter on the roster this season. Her name is Chaos, spelled K-A-0-S.
Of course.
And she's fantastic. And she is so okay. Are you up on hunters? I don't know how much you know about hunters.
I do not know nothing about hunters.
Okay.
Besides,
so one of the
like my dad showed me something because he was like, "Can you read this? I need you to read this." And it was something about Wookiee giving the Mando like a crochet doll of him, and then the Mando didn't know, and he tore it up, and then he got sad, and everyone was sad.
That.
And I was
well,
like, "Why would you show me this show? Why would you show me this sad thing?" And he was like, "I thought it was cute." I'm like, it's sad.
Well, actually, I have to talk about that Wookiee. So that Wookiee, his name is Graz, and in the game, his like default, his weapons are two, like K model droid arms that are ripped off that he like beats people with. You know, so the character game comes out like, oh, that's so funny. He's like droid arms to beat people with. Isn't that hilarious? And the new season comes out, and they drop the new character, and she's a K series droid who does not have arms.
Oh.
So it's her arms that he has. But instead of arms, she has like these two big like halves of shields that she can like put together to make one big shield. And then she has a little like, remember like K2SO had like a little shoulder like blaster thingy kind of deal? She is like that. So she has like a blaster out of her shoulder.
This is messed up.
So yeah,
the lore is getting heavy here.
But yeah, right. It's all like coming together. But she is pretty fun to play. You can like beat people with your shields, and you can also like put your shield up and shoot people. You can like lunge around, and, like smack people. It's very fun. I'm not very good with her though.
That's okay.
But that's okay. That's why I play Utumi in Xena. But she has some really cool skins. In the battle pass, she has a Palpatine skin, so she gets like a little robe, and her two shields look like the like big like window behind him in his throne room of the Death Star. So she's like, and that's really cool. But she also has like a Grievous outfit and like a Magna Guard outfit and like all this like a Royal Guard outfit, like all this stuff. So she's very, very cool, very funny. But yeah, that's Hunters. You don't play Hunters as much, but it's very fun for anyone who wants to play. It's free. I can get it on Switch or on your cellular device. Or both. I have it on both. I don't really play on my phone much because it is harder to play on the phone, for me at least. Because I don't play a ton of mobile games.
I didn't know they had competitive.
Yeah, they have competitive. I haven't dived into competitive because I was waiting until I unlocked all of the characters before I started playing competitive, and I still need to unlock one more character. I need to get Slingshot as my last one.
Gotcha.
So once I unlock him, I'll probably get into competitive a little bit more. Not because I really care about my rank, mostly because when you play competitive, you can do more challenges that get you points to finish the battle pass, so you can get your stuff.
Sick.
And that's what I want. The stuff. I like stuff.
Stuff is good.
But yeah, so pretty fun season of Hunters. Imperial stuff. Not usually my style, but there's some pretty cool stuff going on. I really like Graz has a skin in the Arena Pass where he's wearing armor made out of like a mangled probe droid. His like the eye is like one of his shoulder blades. It's really cool. There's some pretty cool stuff in there. That's very exciting.
Nice.
So yeah, play hunters, and then now that I know they're doing themed battle passes, I was like, oh, Sabine thing, just the whole thing, Sabine,
Dabine? Da Vinci?
Dabini, Dabini.
Daben?
But yeah, that's it for hunters. Very fun stuff. And then now we have the big one, the one that we're a couple weeks behind on. Stuff was going on, we got busy at a very unfortunate time for the podcast. But I mean, not that unfortunate. At least it's not like the middle of the series we're behind, I guess, on episodes.
It's just the last one.
Just the last one. That's it. We're going to talk about The Acolyte, Episode 8, Dune. So what are your spoiler-free thoughts?
Spoiler-free thoughts. It was a very unexpected turn of events that caught me by surprise, but not like surprise where I was like, ugh, horrible surprise. You know? I thought in my head it made sense, and I was rooting for the characters. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's my spoiler-free thing about that.
Yeah, so for me, spoiler-free, I mean, everyone's probably been spoiled at this point anyway, but whatever. Spoiler-free for me was, I wasn't as surprised by a lot of the turn events, like on paper. Like everything, like if you had told me, like if you just like written a very basic outline what happened and told me before the episode came out, I would be like, yeah, that makes sense. But there was a lot of elements of this finale that unfortunately didn't really work for me, which really sucks because I love this show. It was one of my most anticipated after Celebration London, and I loved like every step of the way. But unfortunately for me, the finale didn't really stick the landing the way I was hoping for. And I mean, I think in general, I think the TV finale is your most important episode because a really great finale can elevate your show in hindsight and kind of make people overlook issues. But a not so great finale, like a weaker finale, can make people reflect on your show more poorly. And unfortunately, that's what happened for me with this show. I would still say I love The Acolyte and I still want a season 2. I think overall, net positive. But unfortunately, while there were things I liked about it, the finale just in general didn't work for me and made me reevaluate the show a bit more critically than I had been before. That was me.
I'm curious.
Okay.
Let's go. Go.
Oh gosh, me first. Okay, so
yes, I'm curious because mine is too. Again, you know me. I'm like I don't have a very good vocabulary for this. I liked it. I'm very curious. I've been very curious because like I asked you, I was like, oh, how was it? And you were like, and I was like, no way.
Yeah.
Okay,
I know.
let's podcast. And then we never did.
Especially because I'm usually the one that is defending everything. So that's why I was so like
I'm curious. Go.
I don't know. I don't know. There's some guilt with critiquing this show for me, because I don't want it to seem like I hated the show now. I overall loved it. I would still say that. And there's a little bit of guilt where it's like this show got so much unfair BS. I don't even want to call it criticism, hate over so many things.
That was just hate.
And so it's I do feel a little guilty being negative about it at all. Because I'm like, oh no, like I don't want to join in with that, so like I don't want to associate with that at all.
Well, just know
I never want to be in a position where I feel like I can't say what I thought about.
I was gonna say, don't be afraid, because none of the judgment is gonna come from me. I'm just curious, because I think a few people had different thoughts about this, and I'm really curious about all of them.
Yeah, I think I had a couple of my biggest, I would say two main issues with this finale that made it not work for me, and one was pacing. Watching this episode felt a little disjointed and kind of disorganized at times. In a way that made, or at least for me, it made my viewing experience a bit more unpleasant. And it's hard to like nail down. It's like you should have cut this, you should have moved this. It's just an in general vibe of like this feels weird. Like, this is very oddly done for me. And I know pacing was a common like criticism that the show got, and this is one of the things where I said it makes me reflect a bit more critically on the show, where the first 7 episodes, everyone was like, "Oh, I don't like this pacing. This episode's slow. This episode's too fast," and that was never a problem for me. It's like it's episodic storytelling. It's not going to be very even all the time. Like you're gonna have slower episodes, you're gonna have faster episodes. That's fine. And we have this episode where there were a few things that felt a little bit rushed for me. Felt like they came a bit out of nowhere. Sort of like a little bit of the Senate stuff, some of the character work, which I'll get into in a second as well. Where I was like, okay, this felt rushed. Maybe we should have spent more time developing and setting up some of this stuff, and not a whole episode where all that happens is they go to a planet and then find Kilnaka dead, and that's the whole episode, really. And before that, I'd appreciate that episode for the smaller character moments, and I still do. I love that the show gave us that, but it's like, at what point does that come to the expense of developing the story that you clearly want to tell? And same thing, and this might be a little sacrilegious, I loved episode 5, but again, from a pacing standpoint, do we need an episode that is basically one long lightsaber fight? Very cool to watch in that moment, but in the gist of the whole show, was that not something we could trim a little bit? And I still love that episode. I still think it's great on its own, but it's like in the context of everything, was it necessary when we could have spent a bit more time on some of these things? And that's my other probably bigger issue with this episode, was some of the character work. I feel like the characters were the strongest part of this show, and their relationships. Like, you have this driving mystery, but the heart of it is in these characters, and I just felt like some of the characters weren't making sense. I think the biggest for me was Soul, just because it was really, really jarring, right? Episode 6, which was the last one before the flashback episode, episode 6, you have Soul, who, even episode 5, he wants to tell Osha what he did because he feels guilty about it. Episode 6, he's like, all right, May, I need to face the consequences for my action. We're going to talk, and then I'm going to face the Jedi Council because I was wrong. And then episode 7, he was confronted, and he's like, well, I didn't do anything wrong. And I was like, what do you mean? You just said you did something wrong. Like,
oh, God, no.
Like, it's such it was a genuinely jarring turn. And Lee Jung-jae, I will say, played it beautifully. This is not a criticism on his acting. My issue is entirely a writing thing. So, like, he played very well. In the early episodes, he played very well this very regretful man who's haunted by his decisions and feels and carries this guilt. And then in this last episode, he played very well someone who has twisted their mind to, feel that they were right and feel justified in what they did, even though deep down they know it's wrong. And he played that well both ways, but it was a really jarring switch for me, where I just felt like it wasn't consistent with his character before, and it almost felt like, to me, I'm not speculating what happened, it's just what it feels like for me. It felt like they wrote him as a sympathetic character to trick the audience, and then we're like, okay, now he's the villain, without establishing that as much. And then it was even like later in the episode, for Nestor, when she's talking to May, she says, that like her explanation of what he did was basically, he was so ridden with guilt that he had to believe he was right, and that twisted him into taking these dark paths. And I would buy that, and I like that as like a character arc for someone. I just wish we could have seen that. Like, it felt like there was so much built up to make sure we didn't see the twist coming that it ended up not feeling like it made sense. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I was also confused by him.
Yeah, that was honestly, his character was my biggest issue, because he was so interesting to me the first 7 episodes. First he seems like a very lovable, very, very perfect guy. Then we start to see some of the cracks in that. We see that he's made mistakes, but ultimately he's still like, I'm sorry, and I'm trying, and I need to own up for this. It's been eating me alive. And so I think that was the first thing I said about the episode. When it ended, my dad's like, "What do you think?" And I was like, "Why did Soul, like, what was he doing?"
Yeah.
That was just it was a very quick switch, and I think it could have worked if they put the time into it, or even not even a time thing, even if it was just like don't have him say he needs to face consequences. Like if you're writing this and you know in episode 8 that he is going to believe he did nothing wrong, and that's what he keeps saying in this episode. In episode 6, why would you have him say, I was wrong, I need to face the council? You know? And it's not like there's development between 6 and 8, because 7 was a flashback episode. So it's like why would you not cut that line, you know, unless it was only there to deceive the audience, which is, it didn't work for me. That was my big thing. Was his character. Yeah, I know, we're going to say something.
No, I wasn't going to say anything. I was just thinking, like, it's interesting because I wonder if, like, because that's what I was confused about. Is he was like, we're going to face, like, I'm going to face a Jedi. I'm going to face, like, the consequence of my actions. And then he went to that planet, and I was just like, why are we going to this planet? I thought we were going to go face the consequences of our actions. And I know, like, the answer is, like, well, he wanted to go see OSHA. But, like, there's no I don't, in my opinion, there's no point. You said you were going to face the council, just go face the council. But I guess he thought, like, he could go and, like, get this guy. I doubt it. I mean, but maybe to be fair, when he was angry, he almost got him. But I don't know. Soul just really confused me, and like I really wanted to like Soul, but then like that's why I just said, I was like, I just think he's weird. Like when we saw those episodes of him just wanting OSHA, I was like, dude, chill out. Chill. Like, it's okay. Like, these kids are not being abused. Just because you want this kid doesn't mean that they're being abused, or this is yes, is it a little sketchy? Okay, fine. But like, you can't really do much out of sketchiness. But I was just like that. From there, I was just like, this is weird. Why is Soul being like this? So I wonder also, like, if, like, when he went to go see OSHA, like, maybe he did think what he did was wrong, but maybe he didn't want to say it in, like, them. I wonder if he doesn't want her to think it was something wrong by what, May and Kamir were saying. Like, maybe that he wasn't that guilty or something. I have no idea. But I was, and then he almost said that he loves her, and I was like, dude, this is like far beyond what you're like a Jedi is supposed to do.
Oh, I thought he was gonna say it's okay before he died.
I thought he was gonna say, like, I love you,
like
in like
okay. Like, I thought he was saying it's okay. Like, he's not mad at her for killing.
I could not tell. I thought maybe, I guess that would make more sense, but I almost thought this man was gonna say I love you, like, not as like that kind of weird thing, like just kind of like as a kid, like an apprentice, like just as this person that he literally took from a family. I don't know, like, so all of that was just kind of weird, and I was like happy that she stabbed him, especially because she was just going through a lot. And again, if May in the first place would have just told OSHA when they were little, like, hey, that Jedi killed her mom, that would have been a lot more helpful. Would have prevented a lot of things. But it's okay.
Yeah, and but yeah, so that was my biggest issue with Soul's character. And it was like, I think you can work, I think you can make this guy a villain, but you can't, like, it can't feel like confusing, like when you write him this way. Like, you have to establish it a little bit.
Yeah.
You can still do it as a twist, but you can't have, just all of a sudden seemingly change his motives here. Like, it was just very, also he was all of a sudden like, I have to get you guys to prove there's a Virgins. And I'm like, who cares about Virginses? No one's talked about a Virgins in this show chronologically in 15 years. No one, like, why are we talking about this now? No one has brought this up since literally the episode before that took place 15 years ago.
I think it was just another way for him to prove that he wasn't in the wrong.
Yeah, but again, like, where is this coming from? Like, from the rest of the show? Like, it's just out of nowhere. And I'm like, what are we doing? Like, And now, I don't know. It was just, I felt like it was written so weirdly. And it was like they didn't actually, like, they wanted you to be siding with OSHA when she killed him. but they couldn't reconcile that with how he had been written before, and that was the main issue for me. It was like, I don't
I
know.
also really hope like her Osha and Kamir aren't gonna be a thing, but it kind of seems like they're trying to make that a thing,
Yeah.
and like
Um,
I mean, it's whatever. It's just I'm just like this really doesn't need to be a thing.
um, no,
Um,
but
like it's kind of like what you said before. Like as much as I think, or like I'm pretty sure you said something like this before, where it was like obviously it's going to take a lot for Osha to like turn dark side, and there was kind of a reason for her, like her crystal blood, like she was just so angry. I don't really think she is dark side. I think she's just kind of just going through all these emotions now, and it technically is dark side. Um, but I just like there's no like I don't see how she could just flip a switch on this guy and be like, yeah, this is my boyfriend. He killed like all of my friends and stuff. Like
yeah,
what? Unless they're
but
trying to
yeah,
show like an unhealthy relationship of some kind. I
I mean that was the other thing for me was Osha and May's character in this episode too. Osha, like broad strokes, like again, Osha falling to the dark side, killing Soul. I'm like kind of with that. Like that's an interesting storyline. But it was just this, it was her whole thing. Kamir felt very strange and fast. This episode is another thing that felt a little bit rushed. Um, and then also like I don't know. Also, like I don't know. This is a very weird thing with her. I wish she would have been angrier with Kamir. Like that, I feel like that's an emotion we didn't let her sit with, and
yeah.
it's really important emotion when you're on the dark side. That's like the one that's most exploitable by the Sith is the fear or the anger, and fear. And it's like I wish we had had a little bit more of that. We saw like hints of it. Maybe we'll see it. Maybe and this is again like maybe a season 2 will come out, and it's gonna solve most of my problems and gonna elaborate and everything. I'll be very happy. I'm just saying what I feel right now.
Okay.
My other really big issue was May's character. She's a character that's been a little bit flip floppy and messy the whole show, and I kind of really dug that. But I was assuming, in the finale we get something for her. And in the finale, she almost feels like a non-character. She's almost more of a plot device. Like she runs away from Soul, and then it's like she's just kind of there. She like fights Osha for the sake of Osha's story. She's just totally fine with getting her mind wiped after finally reuniting with her sister because, sure,
Yeah.
what Osha needs. It's just a very weird because she was such an interesting character the whole time, and it was like I don't know. Like I think it's also like I don't mind her getting her mind wiped and going with the Jedi. I think that sets up for something really interesting. But it's like I don't know. I didn't like that she was okay with that. I'm be totally honest. I understand it's like she's willing to sacrifice herself for her sister. It just felt I don't know. She's been such a character that's flip floppy. One moment, Osha's the most important thing. The next moment, never mind. She's fighting Osha, and she's mad that Osha doesn't immediately want to go with her. And now she's like, it's okay. Also, like May did not like Kamir anymore. Like they had a whole thing. She was terrified of him. Like when
Yeah.
he feels him in the forest, she starts running. She's scared of him. She does not trust him anymore. She was not having it like when she realized Osha was alive. She was like, "I don't care about this anymore. I just want to be with my sister. I don't care about you, Kamir." And then now Osha's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go run away with Kamir." And May's like, "Okay, you can wipe my memory so that you can do that. That's fine. You can wipe all
Yeah.
my memories of you." And it's just like I don't know. It was a felt like a very out there decision, and it's like I don't know. I think it would have been really interesting if Kimir wiped her memory without her consent, and then Osha is in that moral dilemma of like, because like I don't know when Lucas talks about Anakin falling to the dark side, the main thing he talks about is how selfish it is to go to the dark side, right? You're prioritizing yourself above all else. And I think it would have been really interesting if we're showing Osha go to the dark side of making the selfish choice of wiping her sister's mind so she can run away and have the power that she's craving. I think that would have been really interesting, but you do take that conflict away, largely seemingly due to time constraints, When you're like, when May's just like, okay, you can wipe my mind, that's fine. You know, it was like, I don't know, I felt like I was taking the least interesting route when it came to OSHA running. Like it was the easiest route for OSHA, you know, and it felt like the show really wanted us to, you know, even though we understand the dark side is not good for anybody long term, the show wanted us to in the short term kind of root for OSHA here a little bit. But they wanted to give the path of least resistance, because if OSHA starts, and again, like they clearly wanted us to be chill with killing Soul, and it's like if the show wants us to, the show wanted us to be like, yeah, OSHA, go girl, go to the horrible dark side that twists you into a shadow of yourself, without actually, like, I don't know, taking the path of least resistance there. That was, unfortunately, was a less interesting path for me, at least.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the main thing. I was like, I don't know, I love a good fall to the dark side, but it's too easy. You know, make it crunchy. You know, give me some Iscat. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, Iscat was that was a lot.
it
I
was
love it so
messy,
much.
but that was what, that's like the thing with going to the dark side. Like, it's messy and it's ugly, and you're doing horrible things, and that's like the whole deal with it. And I, you know, I'm
That's
not
why
just saying
I
because
that's why
like,
I say
oh,
like she's not really dark side, because she did like one bad thing.
yeah, she was like, yeah, that's the thing. I was like, I mean, to me, it felt like the show wanted to be a fall to the dark side, but it didn't want to. I don't know. Like I said, it was a less interesting way to do it. I'm like, you know, like let her be angry and fearful and mean and selfish. Like that's what makes dark side characters interesting. Like if I wanted characters that I felt like were justified and were good and were doing the right thing, or at least trying to, that's what the Jedi are for. That's what the light side's for. You know, I have all those characters. Um, you know, with the dark side character, like I want it to be a little bit twisted and messy, and you know, I'm not, and that's totally my personal preference. Obviously, they want to tell a different story, but for me, it made for a less interesting finale. Um, than I think what could have been there. And I try not to focus too much on like, oh, what could have been. But it was like it did, like with my other issues with like some of the character writing feeling out of nowhere, it all comes together to, unfortunately, make the finale not stick the landing for me, which is important for every show, but I think this show especially, when so much of it was building up to something, when what they built to wasn't that great for me, that is a little disappointing, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's my main criticism: pacing and some of the character stuff. But those are the main two issues I had. I just like, you know, like again, I just felt like the stuff they're doing with Soul could have worked really well if they built up to it. What they're doing with May could have worked really well if they built up to it, you know. And it's just like, should have laid a little
Just
bit more
let
of
her
that
be a
work.
character.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
said, that was a lot of criticism. I do want to say some positive things. Soul and Kamir's lightsaber fight was the coolest thing I've seen in my life. That was amazing. Like tops episode 5 for me. So cool. Like coolest lightsaber fight I've ever seen in my life. It was amazing. I love the way they use the Force, the like kind of back and forth they have. I thought it was amazing. Super super cool. The Lois shot was interesting. I also thought May and Osha's fight was pretty interesting too. The way that they're kind of mirroring each other.
Mm-hmm.
I
I
wish
like the cut with
their
where they
oh,
both
the
kick
leg
each other,
to the
and
leg.
then the lightsabers. Yes,
So
that was
cool.
cool.
Yeah. Again, I wish May and Osha's characters and relationship had felt a little smoother, I guess, for me, but that fight was very, very cool. I enjoyed uh, Vernestra dealing with the Senate and kind of that back and forth. I think is very interesting.
What do you think about her decision
To cover it
to
up.
kind of
See, here's the challenge for me, you know? Like, objectively, it's probably wrong to lie like that. And, you know, there is a Sith Lord running around. Does Vernestra truly grasp this whole Sith Lord angle and, like, how bad this is with Kamir? Not sure. You know, like, you know, again, they found the bodies, but they have no idea what happened. on any of those planets. Like she was not there. She does not
Yeah.
know. So it's like I think people are taking a very like, oh wow, she knows Khmer killed everybody. It's like she doesn't. She can assume that, but like she doesn't have. She has way less pieces than we do.
Oh, which she mentions that was her Padawan.
Yeah, Khmer was her Padawan.
Which was
Which adds
interesting.
another layer to this. I'll say it. Okay, Vernestra is my little Pookie Bear from the High Republic books. So if she whipped him in the back, he deserved it. That's all I'm gonna say. Uh, but I mean, I haven't seen much in the show that says he doesn't deserve it.
Yeah.
But her decision to hide it from the Senate, I don't know. Because here's the thing, right? People are like, oh, this proves the Jedi is corrupt. They're hiding things from the Senate. I'm like, no, you know who's corrupt? The Senate.
I was gonna say this is the least corrupt right now. There's a lot more going on.
There are corporations with seats in the Senate. That is crazy. Like it's such I don't know, man. I mean people have different interpretations of things, but everyone's like, man, look at the prequels. They show how horrible and corrupt the Jedi were for not being involved in the Senate. Like, no, the Senate was the problem. The Senate was the one that let Palpatine take power. The Jedi tried to stop him. I mean, so it's like, I don't know, man. Because, like, here's the thing, right? Like, I think one of the things that hurt the Jedi the most was the way they got dragged into the Clone Wars. And I don't know. I have a hard time blaming the Jedi for it because they had two options in the Clone Wars, which is sit in their temple and being like, we're too good for war, or saving lives when the Separatists are bombing towns and, like, inventing, like, chemical warfare weapons, And so,
Droids.
yeah. So, like, it's hard for me to blame the Jedi and say they shouldn't have gotten involved in the Clone Wars, but ultimately, what really was the nail in the coffin was the way the Senate was able to control them, and Vernestra clearly doesn't trust the Senate, and she's like, look, I'm going to hide this from them because they're trying to take control of the Jedi, and I don't think that's going to go well. And you know what?
Yeah.
She's right.
That one senator was dang.
He was mean. But it's like when the Senate has control of the Jedi, I mean, and not that Senate was like fully in control of them, but when the Jedi was listening to the Senate, that was their biggest problem. I think there are benefits in working with the Republic. We see in the High Republic that the access to public resources enable them to help so many more people, and so I think there's like a noble goal there. But unfortunately, the Senate is so corrupt that it ultimately is harmful to the Jedi who are trying to do their best. And so on one end, like objectively, it's probably wrong to do that, and we know, like with the foresight of this being a prequel, we know how it goes in the end. But like I don't fault her for it terribly much. It's a hot take maybe because I know she got a lot of hate for it. But I don't trust the Senate. I'm sorry, I don't. So
I thought it was interesting how she blamed Soul.
Yeah, and
like not saying like that's so mean. I'm just like I was like dang like
yeah. Well, and it was like she clearly knew it wasn't him. Like the first thing she says when she finds his body is "I'm sorry," but it's also like the thing is like they know like she doesn't know she wasn't there. Everyone who was there is dead or dark side. But she basically knows that May killed Indara and Torvin. Like that's basically confirmed. And the thing is, if she goes any route that doesn't blame Soul, basically, May gets brought into question. Like she needs to have a firm, this is who did it, or people are gonna be like, well, what about her? I thought she killed them. Like there's a hunt for her. They like had her photo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's from the perspective of protecting May. I think it was the right choice. Ultimately, it's sad because now Soul's memory is hard. When I think, he obviously made some very big mistakes, but overall, he was teaching children and he had positive relationships with so many Jedi. Like I think, he should. I wish he would have had a positive legacy, and maybe that'll change in season 2. But it's also like, from the perspective of protecting May in that moment, I think it was the right choice. Like Soul's dead, and he's in the Force. Like you can't hurt him anymore. you can hurt this girl. And I admire Vernestra for taking that route. And it's also, there's a little bit of poetic justice there, right? May took the fall for Soul's mistakes, and now Soul is taking the fall to protect May for her mistakes. So I like that little bit of poetic justice in the end that we get there.
Yeah.
So hot take. I'm Team Vernestra. I don't trust the Senate, and I want to protect May. That's my reasoning. But yeah, and it's interesting now it's like a little switch, where before, in the beginning of the show, May knew the truth, sort of, and she was with Khmer, and then Osha didn't know, was with the Jedi. Now Osha knows the truth again, sort of, is with Khmer. May doesn't know anything, and is with the Jedi. It'll be interesting to see where they go.
May head empty.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because the ultimate mistake that the Jedi made with Osha was that Soul and Indara and Kanaka and Tormund did not tell her the truth. That they hid things from her, and that ultimately made her so vulnerable later, to being manipulated by Khmer and letting that rage and overcome her unexpectedly. And ultimately not letting her move on from what happened. Where now we have May, and Vernestra sits down and she's like, hey, so this guy Soul, he messed up really bad and he did some really bad things, and that ruined your life, and I'm sorry, and we're gonna fix it. And I really enjoyed that, and it'll be interesting to see how May and Osha's paths meet again now, and what that means for the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Very excited. Yeah, I feel like I've been talking so much. I'm so sorry. What do you think?
No, you're good. Again, my head is empty, just like May's. There's just so much. There's so much. But like my brain doesn't have the capacity to. It doesn't have the brain power to explain. It's just I like how angry Osha got because that's so understandable. And I liked seeing her bleed her crystal, which was also kind of cool.
Crystal was very, very cool.
And I was like, oh, I heard about that from my dad in a comic book once.
Now you get to see it. Not the first time it was seen on screen. It was in Jedi Survivor. They let a crab crystal, though it wasn't. The blade wasn't ignited for that.
Yeah, no, I like seeing the blade and everything. It's the first time I saw it.
Yeah,
let's put it that way.
I thought that was really
cool.
loved the scene. It was a little bit, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing because I love it when Star Wars does this. It was a little bit silly. It was like a little evil meter. It was like, oh, more evil, all the way evil. It's very silly. I liked it a lot.
Which I was kind of, well, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm kind of wishing, like, because I don't think Osha's evil. I think she's just angry. And I don't think that she did kill a guy. To be fair, she did kill a man. But
and what was interesting about that? What was really well done about that scene was episode 5 when Soul was gonna get Khmer. Osha's like, "Oh, you can't do that. He's unarmed."
Yeah.
Which, like, first of all, he just snapped York's neck. Okay, those arms are weapons.
Yes. Have you seen them?
He's got his guns.
Guns.
But it was really interesting that now she was the one doing that. It's like, sorry, you continue.
No. It was just now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I kind of wish like her lightsaber didn't turn red. It like turned like a different color or something. Like I don't, because I'm not saying gray Jedi. I don't like gray Jedi. I don't understand. But like I'm saying, like, because she's not evil, like it could bleed, but like it could be just maybe a different color to resemble that she's not. Like she's just a person that all these bad things happen to her, and she's rightfully angry.
I mean, I think that's the thing with the dark side, though, isn't it? Like the dark side, to be a Sith, that's an evil philosophy. That's a selfish, like harmful philosophy. But to go to the dark side, you don't have to be evil. Like that's what makes the dark side so dangerous. You just have
Yeah.
to give in to your anger and give in to your fear, and that's all it takes for the dark side. And that's why Jedi have to be, so careful and keep themselves in check and be in touch with their emotions, to not let them control them. And that's I don't, you know, like I agree. I don't think Osha's evil, but I don't think the. I mean, as much as I joke about the Kyber, like the evil meter, like I don't think her believing the Kyber is she's evil now. I think it's she's given in to these very self-destructive emotions, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
Because you don't
That's
have to
fair.
be like a Sith to wield a red lightsaber. Ventress wasn't. None of the
I guess I'm
Inquisitors
just
were.
worried that people are gonna think that she is dark side. And
I
like
mean,
I
she
feel
is
like
dark
she
side.
can well I meant like a Sith dark
Yeah,
side, not like
yeah,
just
just
a
regular
baby
dark side.
dark side.
Big dark side.
And especially cuz like I wonder if like that's what she thinks now, is that she could just again, my whole thing. She did kill a guy. But like it's just I don't want her to think of herself as Sith dark side.
Yeah, but I mean now.
But now she's with Kumir.
And who else is on that island that we have not mentioned? Is creepy little Darth Plagueis. He's hanging out in the cave there, and
Which
whether Kamir is a Sith or not, Darth Plagueis is a Sith. He's kind of the Sith, really. So, we'll see. Like, I think that's going to be the thing, right? I mean, a couple things. Like, we have rule of two. That's one thing. And now there's three of them on the island. So, I mean, no Plagueis. No Plagueis isn't dead yet. So
yeah.
he still has to train Palpatine. So
Which I thought was interesting because, like, I saw that guy and I was like, ew, who is that? And I had no idea. And then Axel on the podcast was like, it's Plagueis, guys. Did you see it's Plagueis? And then talked about Plagueis for the rest of the show. I was, yeah, if no one said anything, I would have been like, that is a creepy little guy right
yeah,
there.
little guy. Those caves put up creepy little guy. But I'm like, was he watching them like the whole time? Like Kamir was butt naked
Yeah.
walking around there. Also, like, I don't know, does Kamir know he's there? I would assume so, maybe. But it's a tiny island for two people, to not
No
run
idea.
into each other.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, like, is Kamir Plagueis his apprentice? Is, like, how's Osha gonna fit into this? Is she gonna be a little Ventress situation? Then it's like, Osha is on the path to the dark side right now, but she still has the choice. She can walk away.
Yeah.
And will she, or will she willingly go down the dark side, or will she stay on that path until she wants to turn back, but it's too late? And maybe Kamir or Plagueis have enough of her, and like what does this mean for her story? It's
Yeah.
very interesting. I hope it gets crunchier for her. I don't know.
Very crunchy. Yeah. I really hope her and Kamira aren't really a thing. I hope it's more of a like he just needs her to like kill Plagueis or something. And I
Yeah,
think that's gonna be the case, but also I'm
and,
just like
and that's the thing with
yeah.
the dark side. So like selfish and angry that they can't, like, I don't know. You read, I don't know, because I read Rise of the Red Blade last month. It's like, like all the
Can't
Inquisitors could have been friends. There was nothing stopping them from getting along except that they're surrounded by these terrible dark side mindsets that make them competitive and hateful towards each other for no reason. They're like beating each other up, and it's like, you don't
yeah.
have to do this. You can
Even
just like not.
Tuwal and and Iskat before they started dating were like that. Like it was
Yeah,
a
it's
whole
like
thing.
you can literally just not like stab each other. Like no one said you had to stab each other. You just
Yeah.
started doing that.
Yeah.
But that's the thing with the dark side is like, because the dark side is selfish, it doesn't lend itself well to positive connections with each other, So
Yeah.
it's
And to be fair, Vader found out and then was like, kill each other. Boom.
yeah. Vader, yeah, he plays an interesting role with the Inquisitors for sure. But
Yeah. It's a fun time out here. It's so I did like it. I did think it was rushed, which is why before I was like, are they gonna have enough time for all this? Because that's a lot. And honestly, I wish they would have done it like 2 episodes so that way they could have like chilled out a little bit. And like really took time to figure out what they wanted to do and like how they wanted to show everything. Also, what I was gonna say is I thought it was so funny that because OSHA had the helmet on, uh, I was like, oh, um, she had the vision, and at first I thought it was like something in the helmet that was like hurting her or something, but I don't know. I still don't really understand that part. But she had that vision, and she said, "May kills Soul," and then we find out that it's actually OSHA that kills her, kills Soul, and I was like, you couldn't even tell you guys yourself apart from your sister. That's crazy.
Hey, she doesn't know Meg. You know, she was knocked out when that happened.
Yeah, I was just like, girl,
I know.
you're silly.
I guess we didn't get too mad at Soul for mixing them up. She
No,
can't tell them apart herself.
no longer mad.
That was yeah. I will say that was really cool too when she because I almost called that man what's his face? I almost called him his name from The Good Place. Come here. When
Yeah.
she grabs him and his eyes go black, like when Mother Anastasia would do her thing, and I was like, that's interesting. So I'd love to see Nosha because clearly we don't know a ton about the Coven, but clearly there's some dark side stuff going on in there, similar to the Night Sisters. Doesn't mean they were bad, but there were some dark side elements to what they were doing there, and so it's clearly she has some of that too, and it's gonna be interesting to see her, as a Sith Lord, kind of doing some of that stuff. Because we saw the only other witch dark sider kind of thing we saw that was Ventress. And Ventress wasn't really using Night Sister magic, but Marin does. So
Yeah.
really interesting. I don't know, lightsaber plus witch magic together. That sounds really awesome. I really see that.
Yeah.
So, we also saw. Okay, we also saw Yoda at the end of this episode. I am
Yeah.
a Yoda. I am unfortunately a Yoda apologist, so I do love seeing that green little guy. But it was really interesting because actually, just a week or two ago, I read Convergence. No, the other one,
Oh.
Cataclysm. I read Cataclysm, which is the sequel-ish to Convergence. Okay, so I'm gonna spoil this book for everyone.
Damn it! Oh, I was gonna read it today.
It is really good. I'm gonna spoil High Republic Cataclysm by Lydia Kang, but it is really really good. Definitely read Convergence and Cataclysm. They're so good. Okay. Oh gosh, do you know anything about the High Republic? Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Here. Okay, so in Phase 1 of the High Republic, there are these terrible, terrible monsters that are called the Leveler or the Nameless, and they kill Force-sensitive people just by kind of being there. They turn if you're Force-sensitive, they turn you to ash. It's horrifying. Some of the worst, and it's so many Jedi die, and it's we read the perspective of these people as they're dying, and it's these intense feelings of fear and being strangled and the worst feelings you've ever felt, and then you die and crumble to ash. It's really bad.
That's
it's terrible.
Not good.
Not good. So I've lost a few of my favorites to those guys. Not a fan. That's Phase 1 of the High Republic. We go to Phase 2, which is where Cataclysm is. That takes place 100 years before the High Republic. And in Cataclysm, so the Leveler in Phase 1 is used by the Nihil, which are a terrorist group. Back here in Phase 2, they have baby Levelers that are used by this group called the Path of the Open Hand, which is an anti-Jedi cult. And they're using these guys. And they eventually turn into the Nihil. But this is like back when they're still just a regular cult, not a terrorist one yet. Well, they are doing terrorism, but they're not like the same level of terrorism as Nile. Anyway,
Baby terrorism.
baby. Well, I mean, a lot of people died, but yeah, baby terrorism. We'll go with
Baby
that.
terrorism.
And so they have these guys, and so there's this huge battle on Dalna, and a couple of Jedi are lost to these guys, and it's like these whole things. And at the very very end of this book, Creighton's son, who's one of the Jedi who's there, he is talking to Yoda, and he is like, okay, so we have these levelers here that are, we don't know anything about them. There's these monsters that are killing. We think they can kill a person. They like know very little. They have no idea what these things are.
So
But
they
little
are
bits and
like
pieces.
monsters.
Yeah, they're monsters. No, they're like literal creatures that like
Okay.
just kill you for being force sensitive.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, they're very cool. But they're like, hey, so they're these creatures. We think they do this. We don't really know what's going on. Like they know very little about this, but they have like inklings of what's going on. And Yoda's like, not record this, should we? Because we don't want to like create unfounded fear. And Creighton's son is like, I agree. We should investigate quietly and not like report this and kind of keep it a bit of a secret till we know more. And then of course we get to 100 years later and we see these things again and we have no idea what they are. And like no starting point. So very interesting.
I think hear me out. Hear me out. We stop messing with the freaking archives and leave it alone. Like make it so you physically cannot delete anything from the freaking archives.
Stop deleting things from the Jedi Archives 2024.
This is so stupid.
But that's what makes it like, well, it's not that we're deleting things from the archives. They just didn't put it in.
But we need not that. That's okay.
Like,
Continue.
One of those things where it's like in the moment, it's like you read that and it's like, I mean, it's really the same thing as what Renester did here, with the foresight of this being a prequel to something else. We know, shouldn't have done that. That wasn't the right thing to do. But then also in the moment, you're like, okay, I kind of get it. You don't want to start a panic, So it's really interesting, like that Vernester is going to Yoda, and they picked him specifically. I mean, Yoda is an iconic character, so that's probably the main reason. But it's like a green guy to green guy. I know how to hide something from everybody else. So it'll be interesting to see, and it's like, it's tough. Like I sympathize with these characters a lot. They're in this position of cleaning up messes and trying to mitigate harm. And with the foresight of 100 years later, we know doesn't work out, but it's like they don't know that. You know what I mean? So it's just very interesting. I love storytelling like this. So good.
This dumb.
Yeah, see, this is why I want to get my criticisms out of the way, because now I can just be a freaking nerd.
Perfect.
Once again, overall positive feelings of the Acolyte issues, but net positive. Enjoyed the show a lot. I do miss the days of the York Horde and Jackie Jam. Also, Jackie Jam won our poll on StarWarsGeek.com.
Oh, yay.
Jackie Jam won. I think York Horde got second place.
Sick. As it should be.
Yeah, Jackie Jam on top. Let me see. Yeah, it was Jackie Jam and then York Horde. And then Maze Bays. Actually, no, then Kamir's Pierce. Then Maze Bays. Then the Soul Patrol, then the OSHA violations. And at the very bottom was the Pit Party.
Dang.
So
nice.
Pit at the bottom. That's okay. I still love you, Pit. I still love you.
Should have done one for Basil.
For.
But yeah. That was a. I'm trying to think. I don't think I have anything yet. Huh? What? Why?
Please.
Hello?
Oh, I lost you for a second. I'll probably be in the recording. I'm assuming like a ding dong.
Well, I was just saying, what about Basil? And then I was saying, I'm trying to think of other things to say because. Oh, can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello? What
Why
the heck?
can't I
I
hear
will.
what you're saying?
I'll go back.
What? Why are you doing this?
Hello. Hear me now?
I still can't hear you. I think it's on my end.
Huh.
I don't know what. Just stopped working. Why did you stop working? Hello?
Hello.
It's so weird. It's like my head. I can hear you from my speakers, but it won't play from my AirPods or my headphones anymore. So hopefully it won't sound too bad for the rest of the episode. But what were you saying before I
Uh,
continue?
I said, basil is cool.
Oh, Basil.
I love basil.
I don't know. I don't know what his deal was either, because he started like breaking stuff. But I was like, you know what? I can never hold being a silly little guy against a silly little guy. So
I'm just saying that he's just being silly.
just a
He's
little guy.
filling up. He's doing what he's supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Be a silly little guy. Doesn't mean you need an explanation for said little guy.
I really don't need a silly little guy to explain. He could just be whatever he wants. Speaking of silly little
Okay.
guys, we do have a poll right now on StarWarsGeek.com for your favorite blue character. We got some little guys on there. We got Nubs. We got Neil. We have
Ah.
a enter your own response for any other little guys. We also have Thrawn. We also have Ayla Secura. We got Cad Bane on there. Currently, Ayla Secura is in the lead by quite a bit, which I did not expect.
Huh.
But you go, Slay Queen. Love you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, vote for your favorite blue guy. I put only a couple options in, and you can type your own in if you have a blue guy I didn't mention. Because I started like naming different like characters from the Chiss Ascendancy in the Thrawn books, and I was like, there are too many of these, so I will let people type in their own because there are so many and their names are so confusing. So people can type in their own.
Yes.
Yeah. In light of technical difficulties, do you have anything else to say on the Acolyte or any other Star Wars?
No. That was a acolyte.
That was
And
a Acolyte.
hopefully you enjoy it more for season 2.
Yeah, I hope they confirm season 2. That's my first hope.
Yeah, I
Before
guess
it's
so.
even about if I
I
enjoy it.
always just assume, like, yeah, it's fine. What are we all worried about? It's gonna have a season 2, right?
I hope we'll
Right?
see D23. It was like because they've used some very careful wording. Where like because like Manny Jacinto has a panel at D23, and they're like talk about Manny Jacinto's character in the first season of The Acolyte. I'm like, now why are we saying first season? Are we greenlit for another season? Please tell me this weekend, or I will cry. So we have that. So hopefully season 2. Very excited for what they've gone forward. Bumps in the road to get here, but I think we're in a really interesting place to tell this story. And I'm very excited to see where it goes.
Yes.
Yeah, if you want to see more of my Star Wars thoughts in writing instead of hearing me yap, as the kids say, you can go to StarWarsGeek.com to read those things. You can also read my review for Cataclysm that I just mentioned, my review of Convergence, Rise of Red Blade. I'm currently reading Crimson. Is it Crimson Rise? Crimson Climb, about Kira by E.K. Johnson. I'm starting to read that tonight. I'm going to read it before bed. I'm very excited for that one because I do love Kira. As a bit of backstory for her. And then you can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at SWGeekGirl and on our Facebook page as Star Wars Geek Girl. You can also follow me on Instagram and TikTok. It's at Spectre_5 and on Twitter at Zoika. I got a Star Wars animation themed, like, it's not a loot box. What is it? A mystery box, I guess, of some stuff. Came in the mail today, and I think I'm going to be a little cringe and make my first unboxing video because I don't know what's in it besides for like one thing. So I think I'm gonna make a little unboxing video after I get off here tonight and post that on like Instagram and TikTok and Twitter. So if you're curious about what's in the box, check me out on those things.
Yay! I got Rogue Rebels, theroguerebels.com, Instagram, TikTok at the Rogue Rebels, Twitch at Rogue Rebels, podcast wherever you're listening to the awesome Star Wars Geek Girl, Facebook page the Rogue Rebels, Twitter at Rogue Rebels Fam, and I got a new iPad, which is great, and I have 256 gigabytes.
Wow.
Zoe, you know how much I had in my other one?
I don't, but I'm a little scared to find out now.
32.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy. 2024, 32 gigabytes.
Yeah.
Or sometimes.
Pretty much. 2 drawings. And one
But now you have-
poorly registered animation.
Now you can make way more drawings, animations.
Yes, I am working on one animation, but it's not Star Wars, it's Silent Hill, so we'll see how that goes. But I do want to see if I can just draw, like, get any like random meme, like,
Mhm.
and just like plaster like Star Wars Rebels stuff on it. I
nice.
think it'll be funny,
Nice.
like a throwback, as the kids say. That would be cool.
Alright.
But yeah,
Check all those things out, everybody. Thank you so much. I was Zoe.
I was Lizzy.
May the force be with you, and goodbye.
Goodbye.